It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news and the stories behind the headlines. This is Storicon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao. Some stories for watching this Thursday, July 10. The Justice Department has clarified that no diving will be conducted yet in Taal Lake as technical site assessment must be done first. DOJ Assistant Secretary Mico Clavano says authorities need to examine the area's water conditions to determine if search operations for the missing Sabongeros is possible. The department says that even if no remains are found, proving the murder case remains crucial. The Department of Migrant Workers confirms 3 of the 21 Filipino crew aboard the MV Eternity Sea have been killed following an attack by Houthi rebels. DMW Undersecretary Bernard Olaya says the department has already spoken to the families of the victims. The MV Eternity Sea was one of the 2 Liberia-flagged vessels attacked by Houthis on July 6. The other was the MV Magic Seas, manned by 22 crew members, including 17 Filipinos, all of whom were rescued. Jan Xing Yang, alias Tony Yang, has been arrested over alleged falsification of documents, perjury, and the violation of the alias law. He is the brother of former Duterte economic advisor Michael Yang, who was tagged in the controversial Pharmaly procurement controversy during the COVID-19 pandemic. Yang is now in police custody and will undergo immigration proceedings. Economic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan says it is time to tax online gambling. He called online betting a growing social issue and stresses that, like cigarettes and alcohol, it must be regulated and taxed. Balisacan has not yet taken an official position on a total ban, but called the rise of local online gambling concerning. The United States has imposed a 20% tariff on the Philippines despite negotiations between the two countries. The levy is 3 points higher from the April 2 Liberation Day rate of 17% announced by President Trump. The Philippines joins Japan, Malaysia, Brunei, and Brazil in seeing their import taxes go up. The 2-page letter addressed to President Bongbong Marcos is identical to what U.S. President Donald Trump sent to the other countries. Trump says the duties were necessary due to persistent and long-term trade deficits. U.S. goods trade deficit with the Philippines stood at $4.9 billion in 2024, up by 22%. So starting August 1, Philippine imports will be charged a 20% tariff unless a deal is struck in the next 3 weeks, or a new deal is struck in the next 3 weeks. The rate is on top of other sectoral tariffs that the U.S. will impose. Since May, government officials have been in touch with U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer to discuss strengthening bilateral trade ties. The delegation is led by Special Assistant to the President for Investment and Economic Affairs Frederick Go and Trade Secretary Cristina Roque. Roque's initial goal was to bring down the tariff rate to 0.
We are concerned that the U.S. has decided to impose a 20% tariff on Philippine exports. The fact remains, however, that the 20% rate is the second lowest among all reciprocal tariffs that the U.S. has imposed on the region, the lowest being the 10% of Singapore. Myself, together with DTI Secretary Chris Roque and Undersecretary Perry Rodolfo and Undersecretary Alan Hepty, will be flying to the United States next week. This is actually a scheduled trip to the United States even before today's announcement. No? So there will be meetings next week amongst the trade representatives ng Amerika po at ng Pilipinas.
On Monday, Trump announced that he has also sent letters to 14 countries. Among them, Japan and Malaysia had higher tariffs compared to that issued in April. Trump defended his decision to charge tariffs at what he deems are conservative levels.
The formula was a formula based on common sense, based on deficits, based on how we've been treated over the years, and based on raw numbers. And we really haven't had too many complaints because I'm keeping them at a very low number, very conservative, as you would say, number. And we haven't had, I'm sure they will be complaining at certain points, but we haven't had complaints. We've been treated very unfairly by both friend and foe.
Malacanang has announced the appointment of former journalist Dave Gomez as new Secretary of the Presidential Communications Office. Outgoing PCO Chief Jay Ruiz will join the Board of Directors of the Manila Economic and Cultural Office, or MECO. This follows the palace's denial that Ruiz will be removed from his post. In the same Malacanang briefing earlier, Energy Secretary Sharon Garin's appointment has also been formalized. And joining us today, Starcon's resident political pundit, ay hindi pala, he's not gonna be here today. I think he's in Tagaytay, busy with a meeting. So we will not have Tito Ronald for today. However, we still will have, of course, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star. Walang,
Hi, Ed.
dapat may
Hi,
sticker yun, dapat may
everybody.
shit,
Happy
may ganun yun.
Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Oh, si Ami, laki pala ng ngiti, oh.
Ano?
Ang laki pala ng ngiti ni Ami. Ami, ang ganda raw ng blouse mo, sabi ni Direk. Ako kasi wala akong judgments.
Akala ko
ganyan,
ulan ngayon eh, di ba? Parang ulan. Eh, ngayon umaraw.
Ganyan ba yun? Parang,
Umaraw ngayon, lakas ng araw.
yan ba yung ulan motif? Ganyan yung tema ng
O,
ulan?
yun yung rainy motif. Hindi ba? Rainfall. Rainfall.
Parang naambunan, gano'n.
Meron daw tatlong LPA eh. Tatlong LPA. Yung isa nandito, will not intensify. Yung isa medyo malayo pa, but it might be a tropical depression. At saka yung isa yung remnant ng yung paalis na. Yung paalis na.
Mhm.
Kaya
yung matinding tropical depression, yung 20% eh.
Saka kahit walang tropical depression, alam mo, yung monsoon, terrible, no? Terrible. Freak flood. Nung Tuesday ba yan? Tuesday until Wednesday.
Oh.
Early Wednesday, sobra talaga, sobra.
No, I was referring to the 20% tariff.
Yan na nga eh. Naghihintay ako ng mga reaction ngayon. So far, medyo hindi hindi medyo alanganin yung reaction ni Federico. Pero yung ibang mga economist, iba-iba eh. Iba-iba sinasabi. Tinitingnan natin ngayon. Although tama nga si Federico, 3% lang naman daw yung nadagdag. Oo. But remember, ang sabi sa atin, di ba? Di ba ang yung trade deficit is actually in favor of the US?
Well, yeah, you have that back and forth.
Di ba yung trade, ibig sabihin yung trade natin, di ba? Balance of trade natin is in favor of the US. Kaya nagtataka sila dyan sa yan. Sa in-impose na yan.
But I think what really surprised a lot of people was that we were currently in negotiations with the US to try to bring it down from 17%.
Yes.
The 17% was set nga noong April, di ba? Trump's Liberation Day. So everybody was working on the premise na it's either we don't succeed in bringing it down, it stays at 17, or we get it to be reduced a bit, kahit pa paano.
Hanggang 15 sana.
Which would have been the point of negotiations, di ba? You negotiate to find the middle ground. Tumaas eh.
Sinabay tayo dun sa anim eh.
Yeah.
Sinabay tayo dun sa ibang bansa. Sabay-sabay. Six countries eh. Di ba?
Yeah, but in some of the countries, like for example, Libya and I think Myanmar, at least sila bumaba yung tariff rates nila eh. Tayo yung tumaas eh. Teka, let me pull that up again. I saw kanina a diagram of the tariff rates that increased eh. And let me just see if I can pull it up again.
Hinihintay nga natin yung kaya lahat iniintay pa yata yung mga detalye kung tatamaan eh.
Yeah, ito.
Kaya yung mga reaction medyo magulo pa yung mga reaction.
Sige. I'll just read to you quickly yung the rates that transition from April ng Liberation Day ni Trump to the current
17
rates.
to 20.
Tayo 17 April naging 20. Brunei 24 nung April naging 25 ngayon. So tumaas by 1 percentage point. Moldova, teka, wag muna yun. Yung sa Asia muna para mas may tayong comparisons. Japan, 24 nung April, ngayon 25. South Korea stayed at 25. Malaysia, from 24, tumaas ng 1 percentage point to 25. Indonesia stayed at 32. Bangladesh, from 37 went down to 35. Thailand stayed at 36. Matataas din pala sila eh. Cambodia, from 49, naging 36. Ang laki na binaba. 5 percentage points. No, 6 percentage points. Ay, sorry. Teka lang. Ano? 49. 36. Okay. 46, 13 percentage points ang binaba ang Cambodia. Myanmar, from 44, naging 40, 4 percentage points. Laos, from 48, naging 48 percentage points. So, roughly, mababa naman tayo compared to some of our Southeast Asian neighbors like Indonesia at 32, Thailand at 36, and Malaysia at 25. We are at 20. So, well, I don't know how...
Isa nga tayo sa pinakamababa.
I don't know how the analysts would like to look at that, but at least that's one way of looking at it. Na mababa tayo compared to the others. And you have a
Pero hindi
graph
nga
there.
malaman kung paano kinukompute yan doon sa White House.
Oo
Ano?
nga eh. Yeah. There was some confusion
Parang
the first.
kung ano yung mood nila.
There was also some confusion the first time, di ba, on how the computations were made with the 17%.
Hanggang
in
ngayon
April.
naman may confusion
Oh,
pa.
yeah.
Halimbawa yung
yun.
Brazil, saan ang galing yung 10 to 50? Dahil naiinis lang si Trump doon kaya ano. Ganyan yun yan ang problema.
Well, yeah, that's but he is the
Oo,
chief
di ba?
executive. So what can you do? So yun. Bok, teka, before we go elsewhere, let's bring in our first guest. Let's bring in our guest for today.
Yep.
We have from the National Security Council, ang Assistant Director General si Cornelio Valencia Jr. Sir, magandang hapon and welcome to Storycon.
Good afternoon,
Sir, nakamute
Mr.
ka, sir.
Valencia.
Sir, nakamute ka.
Nakamute po kayo.
Okay.
Ayun, yun. Yan, better sir. Kasi pag nagbibideo kayo tapos
Good afternoon.
nakamute, hindi magandang tingnan yun. Sir, thank you for joining us this afternoon. ADG Valencia.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo. And this is my first event
Yes, sir. Your
as a
first time
spokesman.
with
nga
us.
po. Oo nga. Welcome po.
So we hope to have you more often. Baka pwede mong paulakan mo kami every now and then. Kasi maraming pag-uusapang issue yung
NSC.
eh. Sir, but let me start with something very basic. Ano nangyari kay Jonathan Malaya? Of course, we love having you here, pero siyempre, we're also curious what happened to ADG Malaya.
Yeah. ADG Malaya, yung kanyang I took over sa kanya, naka-leave pa siya.
Yes, sir.
So, tapos pagkatapos nung medyo mahaba niyang leave, dire-diretso na. So, I think it's more personal in nature, family matters. So, mas maganda sa kanya manggaling. And I know John Malaya is loved by many, many people. And siya nga, tawag namin is the face of NSC. And it's a big, big shoes to fill.
Sir, you're taking over permanently ba? Did I get you right? Kasi sabi niyo
Yes.
tuloy na eh.
Yes, kasi after the leave niya, diretso na tuloy-tuloy na siyang lumabas. And I just received my order yesterday.
Sir, when you say tuloy-tuloy lumabas ang NSC, I mean, is he leaving the NSC or is
Wala
he
na siya.
just...
Yes. As
So
a spokesman, yes.
he's going back to the private sector?
I believe so.
Oh,
So Mr. Valencia, nag-leave ba siya o nag-courtesy resignation? Kasi humingi Malacanang ng courtesy resignation from all the USECs, di ba?
Yes,
All the
it is.
USECs and assistant secretaries. So
Yes.
ano yung official nangyari sa kanya? Nag-leave ba siya? Nag-courtesy resignation at tinanggap yung resignation? Ano yung official status nun?
Ganun yun. Remember, lahat naman is at the
the
beck
mercy.
and call naman, di ba?
The pleasure.
So, yung naka-leave siya, nag-leave siya, tapos tuloy-tuloy na.
So it's a terminal leave.
Yes.
Okay. Oh.
So, it's personal. Ayaw ko naman na sa akin pa manggaling kung ano yung family matters. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sir. Well, if it's personal, then we have to respect that. If it's personal thing. But a bit of background, sir. Si ADG Valencia. Sir, correct lang if I'm wrong. ADG Valencia ay galing sa Philippine Army. Major General dati. Nag-training and doctrine command, chief, tsaka nag-deputy chief of staff for plans ng AFP. Also, he had a stint in East Timor. Pero hindi ata tayo napangabutan kasi I was there in 1999 eh. You were there in 2002.
I was there 2001 to 2002.
Yes, sir. And in the Golan Heights. So, marami kayong pinagdaanan hanggang Golan Heights. So a bit of
Golan
background
Heights
sir.
was an interesting experience
Yeah.
para sa amin.
It's a very
sa
interesting region talaga eh. Supremely interesting region if you ask me. I haven't been to Golan, but I've been to Baghdad and I've been to to Damascus.
Mr. Valencia, dahil bago kayo dyan sa position niya, any specific instruction siguro from your direct superior or from Malacanang mismo?
Ang instruction lang naman sa akin is to continue what we have been doing. Sabi nga nila is tatlo naman kasi yung core objectives namin as a spokesman. So itutuloy ko lang yung ginagawa ni John. Unang-una, uphold namin yung transparency para mas madaling maintindihan yung government national security programs. Pangalawa, 'di ba, strengthen namin yung what we call this public understanding saka yung trust in government by accessible narratives, yung madaling maintindihan. If I can speak in Filipino para mas mahaba yung reach, nandoon yun. Another is, syempre, nandun din naman yung pag-foster namin ng engagements para magkaroon naman ng laman yung aming mga pronouncements on the vital issues na concerning national security. So, nandyan yung mga events like sa West Philippine Sea, sa mga fisher folks. Nandyan din yung pagkukonvene namin ng mga interagency workshops para mas maintindihan yung national security as a whole. Kasi, remember, national security has evolved from way na defense lang siya. Ngayon, it is a wide range of concerns from energy security, nandyan din yung food security. All these, tinitingnan namin ng paunti-unti.
Mr. Valencia, meron bang ongoing coordination sa mga spokespersons ng mga agencies? Kasi tinatanong ko lang dahil nasabay kayo dun sa pag-appoint ng bagong spokesman na naman. Hindi naman spokesman, kundi PCO, no? Communications Officer ng Malacanang, na the fifth na actually, no? Fifth na, Ed, no?
Yeah, fifth.
After less than 5 months, may bago na naman dun sa Malacanang. Meron bang ganyan na nabubuong national policy kasi sinabi din sa amin ni Jay Ruiz, similar sa sinabi niyo na kailangan i-explain yung ginagawa ng gobyerno sa mga tao, kailangan maintindihan yung mga polisiya. Meron bang gano'n na the entire national government kailangan may sinusundan yung mga spokespersons?
Meron naman tayong mga mekanismo na in place. Sabi mo nga, nagkaroon ng bagong announcement about the new PCO. So we still have to meet yung new group. But meron ng mga existing mechanisms. So meron yung mga grupo where they talk, nagsishare sila ng mga balita, saka ng mga usapin, mga concerns. So may mga forums yan. So one from, parang sa AFP, meron din sila. Meron din naman na with PCO. So existing yung mechanism. It's a matter of now, understanding.
So nagkikita-kita po kayo o kaya magkikita-kita kayo, mga communications officers ng executive department, magkikita-kita kayo?
Yeah, there is a mechanism. May mga events silang ganon. And sabi mo nga, may bagong PCO, then magki-courtesy call din kami sa kanila kasi we have to understand kung ano yung strategic direction. It should still be the same. So,
Yes.
magkakaroon yan, definitely. Masaya ako dahil in place na yung mechanism. We're just new people. The mechanism, the infrastructure is there.
Sir, ano lang ako, sir? Cambio ko na kasi in 2 days we'll be commemorating the 9th anniversary ng
Yes.
West Philippines, ng arbitral ruling on the West Philippine Sea. That's July 12, 2016, di ba? If I remember right, July 12. Sir, let me start off with that. And let me zoom in particular in one point of interest for both countries. Well, apparently or obviously point of interest, yung Sandy Cay. In the last few months, we've been seeing activities from both sides, both China and the Philippines, as far as Sandy Cay is concerned. Can you give us an update on our strategic direction as far as Sandy Cay is concerned, considering that whichever country has strategic control of that sandbar gets to have a say on a lot of other things. Ano ang ating posisyon sa Sandy Cay at anong nangyari ngayon sa Sandy Cay?
Well, ang Sandy Cay naman po ay talagang importante. Sabi nga natin, it is very close doon sa ating Pag-asa Island. And it is an entry point, kumbaga, para siyang, if you're going to look at the map, nakaumang siya as entry point. So, it is a very good outpost. So, yan naman ay naririyan pa rin naman tayo. Nagkaroon naman tayo dyan ng, di ba nung nagkaroon na the past few months, nagkaroon dyan ng issue na nagpunta dyan yung mga Chinese, and we also went there.
Yeah.
So, hindi naman natin na iniiwan yung claim natin dyan sa Sandy Cay. Sabi nga ng ating presidente, we are not going to give an inch of our territory. We're not going to give an inch of the West Philippine Sea. So, ganun pa rin yung direction natin. We are going to insist and face them. Nandyan tayo lagi. And we are having studies nga on anong nangyayari actually doon sa Sandy Cay. Kasi Sandy Cay, parang ano siya mabibuild up
parang
yung
lumalaki.
sediments dyan.
Lumalaki.
Yes. So, ang inaano natin, is it natural or unnatural? But still, we have to study it. We cannot make claims not based on facts. So, I believe there are studies already and probably by next week we can hear something about it.
Yes, sir. Pero sir, as far as our intentions with Sandy Cay, I know meron tayong yung agreement na no occupation of uninhabited structures since 2002, if I recall correctly. Does that still hold as far as we are concerned, or do we intend eventually to kasi there are concerns that China may just one day set up shop there?
Yeah. We are still covered by the Code of Conduct ng 2022. And tayo nga, we are upholding the rule of law. We are upholding it. So, we're not going to do anything against that. Yun yung pinapakita natin . That is the moral ground that we hold on. Di ba? So, paninindigan natin pa rin na atin yan within the context given to us by the different parameters or agreements that we have already signed. So, sa akin, Sandy Cay, atin yan. West Philippine Sea, atin yan. Paninindigan natin yan. So, sabi nga nila, the sea is ours, it is our future. Para sa, susunod na henerasyon. It may not be resolved within our generation. So, we have to prepare our people. We have to prepare our citizenry. Kasi yung paglaban natin dyan sa West Philippine Sea, pahabaan yan ng PC.
Mr. Valencia, apart from external threats, sakop ng National Security Council yung mga internal din, kasama ba dyan yung mga political turbulence? Sakop niyo ba yun?
Yung political turbulence, as long as hindi naman siya nag-elevate into a national security concern level, meaning wala namang destabilization, wala namang normal. Yung dynamics ng ating demokrasya
Usual gulo.
nakikita ngayon eh. So,
Sa
it
ngayon,
is
wala kayong
lively.
nakikitang ganon.
No, none. Gone are the days ng panahon pa namin sa AFP yan na
Yes.
we have learned our lesson that we have to be professional soldiers. And I think nag-stuck yan dun sa ating Armed Forces of the Philippines. So there's nothing to worry about it. Sa akin nga, masaya ako sa ganito dahil yung democratic dynamics nandyan eh. Di ba? This is what we want, di ba? Marinig natin all sides. And of course, because nairinig mo yan, ang kailangan lang is to be able to discern what is right and what is fake news, what is political, and what is really needed by the country to move forward and sustain yung ating achievements, yung ating growth, yung economic growth natin. So,
Tinatanong ko
sa
yan,
akin-
Mr. Valencia, of course, because merong impeachment process ongoing at syempre tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung, yung unrest over the arrest of Rodrigo Duterte. Tuloy-tuloy siya. Hindi ba siya concerning? Wala bang ganong nagkakaroon ng polarization, for example, among the uniformed services? Wala kayo nakikitang ganon?
Wala tayong nakikita as of now na ganyan. But as you know, meron man tayong mga systems in place to be warned and to know about these things. But as of now, nothing to worry about.
Pero sir, weren't you concerned? I mean, I'm talking about the NSC. Weren't you concerned when, for example, the former president called for secession in Mindanao?
Yes.
That was a former president whose bailiwick is Mindanao, calling for the secession of what 25 to 30% of the population from the republic. That's one, and that's not fake news because that was said by he made that very, very public. Number two, the vice president's statements about contracting a killer. Although later on she would say na it's a conditional threat or a condition threat, I don't know which is which. Although may ganun siyang qualifier later. Pero were those concerns ever raised or were they significant concerns for the NSC?
Of course, things like that are all being considered into our assessment mill. But again, if you're going to ask me if that would be a problem in the next few weeks or next few months, then at what level of security problem would it be? The answer is, it's not that big. So, hindi naman ibig sabihin na hindi namin tinitingnan yon. Sabi nga namin na the National Security Council is the silent vanguards of security. Tahimik lang gumagalaw, tahimik lang na pinag-aaralan mga nangyayari. But as of now, it's part of what we look into. But there are other things also that we're also concerned of. So, yung medyo mga long-term at strategic tinitingnan din kasi namin. So, pagbabalik tayo sa issue ng political unrest, we know that stability is key doon sa ating economic development. Stability is key sa ating progress. So, part of it, minomonitor namin. But as
Mr.
of now,
Valencia, ililink ko na rin yan. Itong topic na to, ililink ko na sa designation dahil lang sa timing ha. Kasi nangyari yan, nagkaroon ng bagong spokesman ang NSC sa Malacanang after the elections at going into the State of the Nation and the new Congress. Meron ba, tatanungin ko lang, sa tingin ba ng gobyerno, it has a communication problem? Dahil lang sa, tinatanong ko lang dahil sa timing ngayon ng pagpapalit ng spokespersons.
hindi naman siguro, nagkataon lang naman siguro. Kasi as far as we know, personal in nature yung sa amin. So hindi ko rin alam kung ano yung changes sa iba. I guess, hindi naman siguro because of that. But definitely, there is always a room for, sabi nga namin sa there's always a room to improve in communications. Pati ako nag-aaral pa rin. I have to learn from you, learn from everyone. So, I don't think there is a common knowledge na kulang yung communication. But because dyan, Malaya has been doing his job well. PCO is doing their job very well. Di ba? So,
Pero
siguro,
nakakapanglima na yung PCO ngayon panlima na kasi. In 3 years. Kaya ganon, kaya nagtatanungan lang naman ng mga tao, bakit ganon? Parang hindi satisfied ang Malacanang sa communication.
Parang may revolving door ang
tinatanong ko
Malacanang.
lang, is it considered a problem sa gobyerno? Is it a problem, yung communicating with the people?
I think we need to do more on that aspect. Kasi at the end of the day, communication, kailangan mahawakan mo yung puso ng tao. They could understand you where the policies are coming from. Nakikita nila kung ano yung proyekto ng ating gobyerno. Kuminsan kasi, ang hirap i-explain. For example, the National Security Council is also focused on convening interagency workshop seminars to align yung mga programs natin to our national interest. Pero paano naman maintindihan yun ng tao? Hindi masyado siya strategic and long term. The impact would not be understood right now. But what we see ngayon na kailangan is yung immediate na nakikita ng tao. Siguro that's the direction that the government will be taking.
Saka yung may instruction ba na to do more to fight fake news, the use of AI? Lalo ngayon, di ba, nakikita naman natin kung paano na nangyayari. Meron bang instruction na gano'n? Siyempre kasama dyan yung, it's a security concern, di ba? Na lumalabas siyang mga ganyan, using digital technology. Meron din ba kayong ganong specific na target na trabaho na medyo dagdagan nyo yung ginagawa ng gobyerno to fight fake news, disinformation, lalo na in the age of artificial intelligence?
Yeah, it is a concern hindi lang po dito sa ating bansa, but also sa ibang bayan. But the National Security Council is more on the policy level. So hindi naman kami nag-operate. And we are supporting right now yung development ng bills on AI and the passage of bill on cybersecurity. Kasi mga luma na po yung batas natin katulad no
Yes.
Espionage Act natin na makikita natin yung malign influence and interference. So we have to update it. Mga 1930s pa yon. So ngayon we have pending bills or talks sa Congress about AI. So mga 5 yun eh. So how to integrate it into one bill probably would be the direction. Kasi sabi nga natin is technology is growing so fast and policies and programs hindi maka-keep up. So, hindi naman natin pwedeng baliwalain din na yung policy level kasi we need laws para sa basis ng action ng ating mga field and operating officers. Cybersecurity bill, inaantay pa rin natin yan. So, yan yung sa atin sa direction of how we can protect yung cyber systems natin, ICT infrastructures. So, yan nasa mga priority bills, I believe. And we can see it in the next few months siguro madidiscuss din yan.
Sir, sa Espionage Act, what do you want to revise or amend dun sa Espionage Act? Sabi nga niyo, 1930s pa to, that's almost a century old. 95 years old actually.
Kasi ang focus kasi ng Espionage Act noon is yung World War time pa na mga concerns. But ngayon, nandito yung mga direct assistance, for example, towards helping the interest of other nations. So yun yung mga i-update dito sa bago. So the use of technology, makikita yan din dito sa new Espionage Act. So we hope talaga in the next itong period na to, itong taon na to, we hope talaga ma-update na siya and ma-approve. So, yun lang naman yun. Ina-update kasi nga yung technology nag-change. So, nung panahon nung 1930s, wala pa yung mga situations na ganito. And this has to be put into law para magkaroon ng basihan yung ating mga field operators to implement yung ating defense ng ating mga systems.
Sir, let me zoom in on one particular case. Di ba, several months ago, we arrested several Chinese nationals with what appeared to be surveillance hardware sa kanilang mga kotse. I'd like to ask Sana for an update on that. And do we have already any indications or indicators or any basis to suspect that these were state-sponsored activities? Or were they, I don't know, private sector sponsored activities, business sector activities? I asked that kasi, of course, we all know naman all states collect information, whether benignly or maliciously. Yung HUMINT is typically done in a very benign manner. You talk to your sources, ganon. Pero when you start collecting signals intelligence from inside the country, that's a different matter altogether. That technically does fall under espionage already. So, do we have any update as far as that is concerned and as far as the identities of these people are concerned and their motives and their superiors?
I can only tell you limited things about it. Sabi nga natin is medyo yung mga bagay na nakita natin doon is the equipment is not easily available sa commercially. So there is suspicion that it is high grade for meaning to say it's probably from agencies that collects information from other countries. But I cannot say more about this. I hope you understand. Not at this time. The investigations are still ongoing, so I do not want to make any presumptions
To prejudice
to
the
that
investigation. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm just asking lang kasi baka there may be some kinds of information that you may be free to let go. But if not, then that's fine. I don't want to push them on the envelope there.
Yeah.
Yun lang. I just want to know lang if there's anything that you can tell us about that. Pero sir, I'm sorry, isudot ko na to. Kabila naman sa kabila naman. Remember, may 3 Pilipinong inaresto ang China. And I don't know what the update is there. They were accused of spying for the Philippines. In fact, the Chinese government named several agencies that we've never heard of to be the agencies they were reporting to. So I'm wondering kung meron ng update doon as far as that is concerned.
As far as I know, the DFA is helping these 3 Filipinos. But again, I said there is no connection between these 3 people and the intelligence agencies that we have. So it's a matter really of proving it to the Chinese government. I don't
sige.
have more data on
Pero
that.
at least yun,
Yeah,
we're
sorry.
saying that they are not connected in any way to government. They are not reporting to government,
Yes.
to the Philippine government.
So, yes.
Sige, Mr. Valencia, without going into details, is there basis to believe, hindi, gano'n lang, is there basis to believe na nag-intensify ang foreign, rito? Hindi naman interference, kundi yung
Influencing operations.
Hindi rin naman, influence operations, gano'n.
Yeah.
Digital operations.
Hindi naman mawawala yun dahil sabi ko nga, yung technology is mas advanced naman sa atin yung ibang countries. So, we can see it naman na from social media, makikita natin yung mga videos na supporting yung claims nila, and we are also doing our part. So, in every disinformation that they would do, there is also the transparency that we show. Di ba? So, makita natin yung paniniil nga nila even doon sa food delivery na movie. Sayang di ba? That is a form of curtailing yung creative documentary na ginawa ni Babe Ruth. I don't know if you've heard of her. So,
Yeah.
So that is, it's not disinformation, but actually it's a form of controlling information. Kasi counter sa narratives nila. So, yun yung mga na-experience natin ngayon. So,
Well, what
I
about
hope...
disruptive activities? Kasi sabi ng ambassador natin to the US, vulnerable daw yung mga ano natin mga public services, public utilities, hacking, cyber hacking. Wala naman siyang binabanggit na bansa or any particular group, pero vulnerable daw. Is that tama ba yun? Tama ba assessment niya?
Well, in a way, if you go back to 2023, diba? 2023, we experienced a lot of attacks. But one
Yes.
thing good about the government is that we invested on securing our systems. So, kung i-compare natin yung standing natin, where we were in 2022, 2023 sa cybersecurity index, we actually jumped so far na magiging sa next year, yung next year would be nandun na tayo sa grupo ng mga well-defended. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na we have to stop kasi technology develops faster kung minsan. So we have to ensure na updated din tayo. But if you would note, ang laki ng change. Ang laki ng kasi nandoon yung pagsiset up natin ng policies internally within government on how you should use yung ICT natin considering yung security risk. So, tapos yung investment natin, ang budget natin for ICT also increased. So, makikita natin na we really responded well to the problems of 2023. Kasi talaga yung 2023, ang taas ng tayo yung isa sa pinakamataas na inaatake. The API, yung APT attacks natin noon, I believe nasa 85% compared to 85% compared to the other ASEAN countries. Next was Vietnam, di ba? So, by that time, ngayon, ang layo na. Kasi we responded correctly. Yung government changed policies, invested on securing our systems. So, nando dito tayo ngayon, and I believe with the ICT natin, continuous yung ating mga programa to strengthen government agencies first. Diba?
Okay. Okay. Well, sir, I'm afraid we're already out of time, but we would like to have you again soon. If you don't mind, we'll call you once in a while para makipagkwentuhan sa iyo pag may pumuputok na bago. So, kayo yung bago naming phone pal.
Opo.
Wala pong problema yon. At sabi ko nga, kayo naman po ay partners namin to bring the messages of national security sa ating mga mamamayan. So maraming salamat din sa inyo sa oportunidad na ito.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
ADG
Mr. Valencia.
Cornelio Valencia of the National Security Council. Sir, we hope to have you again. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Ingat po.
Yes.
You're watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a break. We'll be right back. We've got developing news to the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao, and still with us, of course, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star. Ami, let's bring in our reporter from Channel 5, who is now at the Taal Lake in Batangas, where a site assessment is being conducted in the search for the missing Sabongeros. News 5 correspondent Camille Samonte is there. Camille, anong bago dyan?
Yes, Bok, sinuyod nga ng Philippine Coast Guard ang ilang bahagi ng Taal Lake para sa paghahanap ng ilang bangkay ng mga nawawalang sabongero. Pero ang pagsisid ay sa Biyernes pa raw yan gagawin. At yun nga, pinuntahan nitong mga diver kasama ng ilang opisyal ng gobyerno itong isang palaisdaan sa Taal Lake na natukoy nga na ground zero kung saan posible nga itinapon yung mga bangkay nga nitong mga nawawalang sabongero. Ayon kay DOJ Assistant Secretary Mico Clavano, technical site assessment muna yung ginawa bago nga sumisid itong mga diver. Ikanasa daw ito para ma-verify yung sinasabi nga ni Julie Patidongano alias Totoy at yung iba pang informant na itinapon nga dito sa bahaging ito ng Taal Lake. At kailangan din daw kasi Bok masuri muna yung kondisyon ng tubig at kung gaano ito kalalim. Kasi hindi nga magiging madali itong paghahanap sa mga bangkay lalo't masama rin nga yung lagay ng panahon. Bok, Ami?
Pero Camille,
Camille, yung hinanapan, no, medyo malapit lang sa, sa lakeside kasi napakalalim niyang yan, yung tubig na yan. Yung maraming parts ng Taal, napakalalim. 147 to 300 meters daw yan. Sobrang lalim nun.
Oh, yes, Ami, kinailangan pang sumakay nga ng rubber boat para makapunta nga dito sa sinasabing palaisdaan. Nasa gitna itong bahagi. Actually, boundary siya
Ang gitna.
ng Talisay. Boundary na siya ng Talisay at ng Laurel. So, kinailangan pang gumamit ng rubber boat para nga mapuntahan yung lugar na yan. Kasi kung dito dito kami ngayon sa kinatatayuan ko sa fish port ng Laurel, may ilang palaisdaan tayo nakikita rito. Pero bandang gitna ng lawa ay marami pa dyan. So yan nga yung specific area na yan yung pinuntahan kanina ng PCG.
sorry, that's the boundary ng Talisay and saan? Yung kanina pinuntahan na palaisdaan?
Oo, Bok sa may Laurel.
Laurel.
Okay, boundary ng Talisay and Laurel ang
Laurel
palaisdaan. Okay, kung Laurel, nasa bandang western side yan, no?
Yes.
Oo, yes, Bok. Kanina nga kasi actually nagkaroon pa nga ng confusion kasi kanina nasa may fishport area kami ng Talisay. Then nung umalis na nga itong barko na sinasakyan ng PCG, sa may Laurel na fishport na sila bumalik kasi apparently mas malapit daw dito. Pero yun nga, Bok, napaka-challenging kasi kanina napakainit direct yung araw pero maya-maya biglang bumuhos yung malaki na alon, na ulan at ang lakas din nung agos ng alon dito kaya pahirapan din talaga yung magiging pag-dive kung sakali nga itong gagawin. Kaya ang target nila ng PCG ay maaga bukas ay sisimulan na nila yung pagsisil.
Pero Bok, kasi kung fish pen ang kanilang titingnan, I suppose hindi siya, yung part na yan ay hindi masyadong malalim. Kasi kung
Hindi masyadong malalim.
kung fish pen yan, lalagyan ng tutungkuran ng kawayan yan eh. So, I suppose hindi ganun kalalim yun.
Bok, ang sinasabi ni Asik Miko, yung particular na palaisdaan na yun, ang nakuhang information daw nila doon ay at least 30 meters yung lalim nung bahagi na yun. Pero kasi ang challenging ng Bok is murky.
Yeah,
Malabo
murky.
yung tubig at maburak din daw. So kaya dahil nga magdadive, hindi rin siya magiging madali kung pagsisid nga malabo, wala ring makikita. Kaya tinitignan din nila yung paggamit nga ng submersible drone at iba pang equipment para at least kahit na walang sisisid yung equipment, may makikita pa rin sila. At ang importante daw kasi talaga ngayon, ma-map muna nila itong lake bed. So yun nga, nag-ask na rin sila ng tulong mula sa gobyerno ng Japan para nga makahiram ng equipment at hinihintay pa nga nila na tumugon ito.
So, Camille, wala pa tayong nahihiram kahit kanino na equipment. Kasi napakahirap nga niya. Pati yung mga aquatic scientists na sabi nila, iba yung dyan, yung ecosystem dyan. Yung ilalim niyan, edge yung lake bed is black eh. Iba yung that's a volcano eh. That's a volcano caldera. Kaya medyo mahirap-hirap siya. May nahiram na ba tayo, Camille, na equipment siguro from the US or something? Wala pa.
Sa ngayon namin wala pa. Ang pinadalhan lang ng sulat or request ng Department of Justice ay yung Japan. Kasi yun lang ata yung I think alam nila talaga na mayroong specific equipment na magiging useful nga para dito sa operations na gagawin. Pero ang sinasabi ngayon ng PCG, meron naman silang equipment, maging yung DNR, yung Mines and Geosciences, meron din daw silang pwedeng gamitin doon. Pero since yung ginawa kasi ngayon ay mostly lang to parang site assessment or inspection at may nag-dive din na PCG pero surface nga lang.
Okay.
Okay.
Bok, sorry, last question lang. You're saying sa boundary ng Talisay at ng Laurel,
Laurel.
town? Or kasi Laurel is on the western side, Talisay is in the northeastern side. Although sa
Medyo
North...
yung pababa yata yan, dun sa galing sa Tagaytay, di ba? Kung bababa ka.
Mm,
Yun
pero
yung
kasi,
area na yon.
kasi po,
Maraming resort doon
kasi meron
Di
ding
ba?
Laurel...
Maraming resort doon sa area na yon.
Meron ding Laurel Island sa Taal Lake and that's on the western side of Taal that's near to Talisay than yung Laurel Town
Baka island. May separate island ba yan?
Yeah, may separate island na Laurel Island.
Yeah, it's a separate
in Taal
island.
Lake.
Separate island ba yan?
Ami yan yung i-verify natin, no? Kasi kanina hindi rin sigurado yung PCG kung anong specific area. Pero kasi ito ngayon nga, dahil nandito tayo sa may fishport ng Laurel, dito kasi sila bumaba na mula dun nga sa
Okay.
rubber boat na sinakyan para nga puntahan itong palaisdaan. Actually, mamahigpit din kasi yung security dahil kahit na may ilang miyembro ng media na isinama nga papunta doon, hindi talaga totally dinala doon sa actual spot. Kumbaga, from afar, nakikita lang din ng mga photographers, ng
Because it is a
cameraman,
crime
pero
scene,
hindi
if at all.
oo.
Okay?
So, yun lang yung naging challenge nga kanina.
Okay. Well, Ami, we're already out of time. We're going overtime. So we
Yeah.
have to say goodbye. Maraming salamat sa iyo, Camille Samonte of News 5. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks, Camille. Ang
Thank you,
lakas ng
Camille.
alon na yun. Ayan,
Okay.
Ang lakas ng alon sa
parang
that
nasa,
lake.
parang nasa dagat eh.
Oo.
Umaalon talaga eh. Okay. Maraming
Yeah.
salamat for joining us today. Ami Pamintua ng bossing ng Philippine Star. And in spirit, we have with us in spirit si Ronald Llamas at si Regina Lay. So, just again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Bukas ay Biyernes. I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News all sides all the time.